So last night at Jeff Dunham, he was toward the end of his presentation. He said, you know, I've been doing this since I was like 7 years old. I got my first dummy, and I've been doing this all my life. And he says, what I want to ask you is, find something in your life that gives you such joy, and then devote everything to it. And we've heard that from so many people. All the great inspirational people out there, the motivational people, the spiritual people are always saying, there's something within you that is desiring to come out, desiring to be expressed. And if we simply put ourselves into that, invested in that, put ourselves fully, wholly, completely into it, and pushed aside all of the minutia that we've allowed to come in and occupy our minds, we would have a life that would be unbelievable. But it's unbelievable to everyone but us. See, because we know what we desire. We know what we're putting our energy into. We are becoming the masters of our life. You see, there's a difference in the way I just said that. We're not becoming the masters of life. We're becoming the masters of our life. You see, we have this God power, this God presence right where we are. We talk about that week in, week out, every week. There's an infinite power and presence. It radiates in and through and as all things. It has always been, it always will be. It's all powerful, it's all knowing. It is, and it is created out of itself everything to express and experience itself. And as such, we are one with it. We are that individualization. And each one of us has this thing that's pulling from us that says, this is your gift. Express it. This is your gift. Not what your mother said. Not what your dad said. Not what your church said. Not what your business said. Not what your school teachers said. Not what the government has said. This is what you came forward to be. You see, what happens is we are taken out of our power. Let me rephrase that. We're taken out of our conscious power. We can't be taken out of our power. Does that make sense? Because this law, this power that is creating all the time, whether or not we're conscious of it or not. So when we're put into a box and taught certain things and told to behave a certain way, we may be stifling our creativity. We were not ever meant to be in a box. We were never meant to conform. We were meant to be masters of our life. And in order to be a master of our life, we have to know that there is a natural law that responds to us. When we understand that there's a natural law that responds to us, we start to become the masters of the law. But the real critical thing is about this law, it's not just understanding that there's a law. It's not the intellectual property of this law working all the time. It has nothing to do with that. Everyone understands in some form or fashion that this power to create is there. But they don't realize that the power is always with them, and it responds to the emotion, to the thought, to everything they put out in every moment of every day. So if we want to be the masters of our life experience, we have to stand bold and be unique in our magnificence. Here's the thing about it. You can't run away from this power. It doesn't care where you are. It's always with you. And it's taking the sum total of all of your thoughts at that moment, and it is creating. You can go under the covers. Do you remember playing a kid? Did you ever play tent as a kid? Everyone gets under the covers and you play tent? My wife is scared to play tent with me. I still have that little boy in me. What was it last night Jeff Dunham said? He said, what happens when the Buddhist monk who has vowed to be in silence expels gas? Has he broken his vow of silence? You know, think about that. Well, yeah. Well, I want you to know, in the Vipassana retreat I was in where we did 10 days of silent meditation, many a vow was broken in that meditation hall. Big fans in that hall all the time going. It's about self-empowerment, isn't it? The thing about the law, it doesn't leave us. It's always around us. And the thing about the law is it demands that we are truthful. You see, you can't lie to the law. You can't say, that's not what I wanted, because the law simply goes in, takes the mold of your thought, brings it into your experience. It doesn't care whether you think it might have been something else. You see, you can't fool it. You can't lie to it. It's always going to mirror back to you exactly who you are. Did you hear those words? Who you are. Your role is to know, I am. Whatever that is, I am. So when we do affirmations, how many people here have their prayer beads that are using prayer beads? Most of the community has them. If you don't want to know more about them, ask afterwards. But almost all the affirmations we use are I am. And when we use the I am, we're saying into this power that creates, this is who I am. So we want to be selective. When we're choosing this affirmation or we're choosing words, we're choosing statements, we want to make sure that these statements are what we want to reflect, not what someone else wants us to reflect. So many times as you're watching, I was watching people last night going in and out of their seats at American Airlines, and you can see some people are sacrificing themselves for the pleasure of their partner. I found that rather amusing. Why would you ever sacrifice yourself for the amusement of someone else or for the benefit of someone else? What that says is that you believe in lack. Do you hear that? Means you believe in lack. Because if you understood who you are, you would realize that you can have everything. But we've been taught that we have to compromise. We have to give more than we receive. You see, when you give more than you receive, there's a block. There has to be a block in you. Something in you is saying no to receiving more because the universe is going to feed you. As much as you're giving, the universe is feeding to you. And if you block it, you're going to be what? Constipated. And that constipation is going to demonstrate in some not so pretty ways. It could be emotional, it could be mental, and if it's emotional and mental, which it will be, it will then demonstrate into a physical dis-ease. Do you understand that? Dis-ease means you're not in balance. So if we understand that we're the masters of creating our life experience, then we understand that we are 100% fully responsible for everything in our life. Because to not be 100% responsible means we don't believe it. Think about that. If you believe that you are 100% responsible in the power that created the universe, is right where you are, then how can you make an excuse for something in your life that you don't like? Really quiet, isn't it? Because you're probably all thinking about, what am I excusing myself? Why am I allowing this to be? It's because you haven't recognized that thing that's desiring to call from you, that's calling forth from you to come forth and to do it. Because when you find that thing, nothing is more important. And when nothing is more important, then you go within and you're willing to do anything. You see, you don't need to be motivated from the outside. You are inspired by the divine within. And with that divine being inspired from within, you are going to do everything. You're going to reprogram your state of thought. Because that's really what we're talking about doing. You are a computer. The computer is all of thoughts that you fed into it. That computer puts on the screen, on that monitor, everything you're thinking. So if you want to have a different experience, you've got to reprogram your computer by feeding it new thoughts. It may mean you have to reboot. And what do we do at night? Every night when we go to sleep, we reboot. We're giving ourselves a whole new day. Now, the key thing is, what are you starting that day with? Are you bringing forth all the crap from the days before into the new day? Or are you saying, no, I got a whole new slate, and I'll start fresh? So then you ask the question, okay, if I'm going to start fresh, what do I want? What do I desire to experience today? See, do you ask that question? After you've woken up and you've connected through a meditation, do you ask the question, what is it I would like to experience today? Because if you're not asking that question, you're saying, okay, universe, give me anything. Did you hear that? Give me anything. What are you going to have? An average experience. That experience could be on the high side of average. It could be on the other side of average. We don't know. That's why sometimes good things happen to bad people. Or bad things happen to good people? Think about that. It's not that they've called it forth. They just haven't declared what they want in their lives. They're not specific with the law. If you're not specific with this creative law that emanates through all things, you're going to get an average experience. Now, do you want an average experience? I think not. The only reason we settle is because we don't know who we are. And this is what we come together at Agape to do all the time, is to uncover what is this truth. And the only person that can answer it is you. You are the master of your life experience. Now, here's the thing. There's a battle going on in you at all times. And in religious science, we don't talk about battles. We don't talk about battlegrounds and things like that, but today I'm going to. There's a battle going on in you right now. And it's between your unconscious pattern of thoughts and it's your conscious desires. And it's almost always what wins is the unconscious. Why? It's the 99% of your brain pretty much. It is the 1,000-pound gorilla coming up against a 120-pound monkey. That's why the gorilla wins. The unconscious wins. That's why our role and why we do a daily spiritual practice is to shift the gorilla. We want to feed the gorilla the food that makes it respond the way we want it to respond to life. You see, we're every day, every moment, whatever we're thinking in every single moment is feeding the gorilla. And the gorilla, based on what it's fed, will do what we feed it. But if we're not conscious, if we're not making an effort to shift and shape our thought processes, to build new patterns of thought, call them patterns, call them habits, it doesn't matter. But everything we do, it's a habit. Everything we do is a habit. How we when we wake up in the morning, when you go into the shower, people will have a routine. Mine is I grab the soap, boom, under my left pit. It's the first thing I do. I tested it. I know. I go there, I grab that soap, boom, it's under the pit. Some of you have something else. I'm not going to ask what it is. Maybe next week we'll bring paper and you can write down and we'll come up here. Guess who said this? You know, no. It's not guess who you are week. But you see, it's the pattern, it's the habit. Everything is a habit. How we eat, how we take a plate of food and how we eat off that plate of food, it's a habit. How we address certain people in our lives, it's a habit. The question is it a habit we've chosen? You see, if you're to be the master of your experience, you must take control and make sure that the habit is one that you've chosen and that you are feeding consciously. That's the critical piece of this. This is not a complex thing to create a life experience. But what it requires a decision and it requires consistent, persistent commitment to a practice that takes you toward your dream. That's where the battle is won. Think of this as the example. This is the best example I can give you. Anyone here try to lose weight and not do so well after a while? Yeah, there'll be a lot of people here. What is it called? That's called the rubber band effect, right? You stretch it out, you get thin, and you're working real good, and all of a sudden something shifts. Well, I think I can have that piece of pie. And you step right back in. What happens? The next time when you're stepping out, you're already bigger than you were the first time. Why? Because you didn't keep it going long enough to build a new pattern of thought. The old pattern was there sucking you back in. Do you hear that? That's why it's the rubber band effect. Unless you keep it going. See, the battle is every day of the rest of your life. It is not 6 months from now I can stop declaring into the power that creates the universe, this is what I want. It's every day of your life you're doing it because every day it says, it doesn't matter what you did in the past, what you give me today is what I'm going to create for you. Do you hear that? Every day is a new day. Every moment is a new opportunity to shift and shape our experience. It's one of the things, I get this asked, this woman came up to me Monday of this last week at the gym and she said to me, why are you here? You're one of the few people that's here every year, month after month, week after week. I said, because you don't keep this not doing that. You can't. You have to. See, I have a belief about exercise. I have a very religious belief about exercise, and I do that. If I gain a half a pound, I immediately know, because why? It's important to me. Why is it important to me? Because I don't believe I can do what I want to do, and that is be the teacher that I am, unless I'm demonstrating what I'm talking about. So for me, I've tied exercise, I've tied eating into being a teacher. See, I don't believe you can teach what you don't model, because then I think you're a fraud. I'm just going to be very candid about it. You can't teach what you're not. So if you want something so bad and this is not what you want to do, you got to link it to what you want. And when you've linked it to that, all of a sudden it becomes joyful. So people come into the gym and they go, God, I don't want to do this. I said, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to work on my stomach. They said, what are you going to do? I said, today's 1,000 crunch day. They said, you're kidding me. I said, no, I do 250 at a pop. Why do you do that? I feel good. See, I'm not telling you to do what I do. I'm only using myself as an example that this is what I'm doing to do what I want to do. You have to decide what that looks like for yourself. One of the things that I really am going to embody more is laughter. I mean, last night, after 2 hours of laughing, I felt such a connection to the divine. It was incredible. I lied in bed. I closed my eyes and I said, what am I grateful for? And I just started laughing. I'm grateful for it, to see how life is such a joy to look at, and we make it so serious. I want you to know, last night there was no political correctness in Jeff Dunham's act. He mocked everything, and you couldn't help but laugh. Every ethnicity was taken right into the gutter. And every ethnicity was right around you, and everyone was laughing. That's the key about it, is we take this life serious. Van Wilder. Everyone see the movie Van Wilder? Yeah, it's a guy movie. It's one of those guy young movies. And Van Wilder talked about, if you take life too seriously, you'll never get out alive. Think about it. Be serious. Let go of that. Don't be serious. Be open to experience life in its fullness. Because you know what? If it's not good or it's not like what you want, this too shall pass. Everything in your life will pass forward over and over again. It's all going to go by you. It's always going to be shifting and shaping, always. The key thing is, what's your focus? Because what your focus is what's going to shift and shape into. Make sense? So where's the power? In you. Are you powerful enough to do anything? Yes. Are you powerful enough to be the world fiddle champion? If you want to be, because this lady's proven it. The world fiddle champion. Think about that. That's 7.2 billion people. Now think about this. If you set your goal to be the world's best at anything, remember, you never have to compare to anyone, because you will be the best because you will be unique. You'll be competing in an arena where there's no one else there. You see, I'm going to be the greatest spiritual teacher ever for the people who vibrate at the same level of vibration that I vibrate. So I'm not taking anything away from anyone else. I'm not putting myself above or I'm not putting myself below. But I'm saying when I'm up here, I am going to be so present with you, so fully giving of everything that I've got, that in that moment, I'm the greatest that I could be in the world. See, I'm not judging where I'm at down the road. I'm judging where am I in this moment. Am I being here for you now the best I can be as a teacher? Now you have to say is, are you being you at the greatest you can be, whatever role you're playing? It could be a housewife. It could be a personal trainer. It could be a consultant dealing with the government. It could be a home inspector. It could be a sound technician. It could be anything, but are you being the greatest? And when you make that decision and you become that, what are you saying to the universe? You're saying, I am powerful. You're saying, I can do anything. I can say there is no roadblock in my life other than what I create. And what you eliminate is everything in the past that you feel has held you back. When you go to that state, there's no need to forgive anymore. Because when you've stepped into your power, you cannot possibly be a victim ever again. People can say and do things and you'll walk away and say, hey, so what? I'm in my power. You see, everyone is unique in their own way. So you can't judge anyone by how they're being because they're being unique. It may not be a vibration with you, but that's okay. It's not a vibration with you. Let them be unique. Don't judge. Be unattached, but be very attached to choosing your thoughts to the best of your ability. Be very open to looking at your life clearly and seeing, is this my desire coming forth? The one last thing I want to say, and I think it's real important as you become this person, ask this question: am I serving others? Are you providing something that's a service to others that makes the world a more joyful, better place? Because when you're doing that, you're following the commandment that Jesus gave. He said, love God above all else, which means love the infinite, love everything, which means you must love yourself because you're the expression of God. But when you're being of service, you're loving others. You've now gone and you've completed the flow. See, until we complete this flow and we get it circulating, we're out of rhythm with the energy of the universe. But once we get into that rhythm, life gets easy. You see, it's only the roadblocks we put up that block that energy that cause us the pain. But when we release the roadblock and we allow the energy to flow, equal giving, equal receiving, and expanding our giving, expanding our receiving, expanding it and giving and receiving, we just blossom. I learned this week, the word the Christ was around for thousands of years before Jesus. The Christ was not a word made for Jesus. Jesus was the son of Joseph. He was Jesus of Nazareth. Well after Jesus died, he was given this title, the Christ. And then eventually they took away the Christ and put Jesus Christ because man likes to make things in its image. It's not that. The Christ means the anointed one, the individualization of God expressing itself. Guess what? When you look in the mirror today, look at yourself in the eyes and say, I am the Christ. When you can start to do that, you will have embraced your power. Because to look into the mirror and go past that adage that's been built in society that how dare you say that you are the Christ? How dare you? What gives you the right? And you can look yourself in the eye and says, the Father within me says so. The Father within you is the divine presence. And it has named you. It has given you your first name. And after it, you are the Christ. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website. Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.